Despite having little formal Jedi training, Luke Skywalker is unmatched in terms of his mastery with a lightsaber. The numerous canon and Legends comic books and novels, which the films do not acknowledge, contain many of his most amazing accomplishments. So join me today as we look at how Luke Skywalker learned to use a lightsaber and what lightsaber form he employed during combat. Without a master, it was his innate talent and unmatched ability that helped him advance to an impossibly high level. Before his death, Obi-Wan Kenobi only had time to give Luke a single introductory lesson in lightsaber combat. In Episode 4, we see Luke training with the remote in the Millennium Falcon. But if you listen to the Star Wars radio drama, you will find this scene greatly expanded. Obi-Wan makes it a priority to begin Luke's training, starting with the basics of how to hold the hilt. From there, we learn how a Jedi Master teaches a Padawan, from stance to basic drills, including ready position and defensive postures. Obi-Wan coaches Luke, encouraging him that mastering the lightsaber is a long, meticulous process. And as there is no indication that Yoda taught Luke any lightsaber skills, it is clear that Luke committed himself to training and learning on his own. Luke developed his lightsaber fighting style through careful study and his inherited ability. It would be logical to assume that Obi-Wan's mastery of Form 3 and Yoda's flawless Form 4 would at least be present in Luke's combat style. Luke's style, though, differs from both. He doesn't leap around like Yoda, and his offensive capabilities far outweigh Obi-Wan's defensive ones. He learns more from both about trusting the Force and following his instincts than how to wield a lightsaber. Luke's first encounter with Darth Vader occurred on Cymoon 1, shortly after the destruction of the first Death Star. Luke posed no threat to the Sith Lord, who was unaware of who the young man confronting him with his former lightsaber was. But just 3 years later, and after only a short time training with Yoda, Luke revealed how naturally talented he was with a lightsaber on Bespin. So how was Luke able to stand against Darth Vader's decades of skill and experience? First, let me state that Vader was not going all out and trying to kill Luke. His initial goal was to just drive him into the carbon freezing chamber in order to deliver his son to the Emperor. When that plan failed and their confrontation moved into the lower levels, Vader then adapted his objective and attempted to recruit Luke to join him in challenging the Emperor. Despite this, Luke managed to hold his own against his father, who had extensive combat experience. It's obvious that Luke's talent came naturally from this bloodline, enabling him to pick up skills as they battled and adapt his own fighting style as necessary. During that fight, Luke was observing Vader's posture and movements, modeling his own attacks after Vader's fighting technique. Luke Skywalker's father was the one who actually taught him how to wield a lightsaber in combat. Luke's early fighting techniques consisted primarily of back and forth movement while focusing on parries and offensive attacks when engaged in melee combat. This is very reminiscent of Form 5, known as Jim-So. Based on the fact he learned from Vader, this is to be expected, as Anakin Skywalker was a master of the aggressive Form 5. This is the form Luke observed most. Vader employed this form against Obi-Wan Kenobi on the first Death Star, and later against Luke on Bespin. Young Skywalker naturally fits Form 5 because of the inner darkness he shares with his father, and Jim-So uses ferocious offensive attacks. Luke is also physically capable of executing the demands this form requires. Despite having had minimal formal instruction, he is an innate master of lightsaber dueling. But initially, Luke's use of Form 5 was a slower version than what was typically used. This was due to Darth Vader modeling this slower variation, as his prosthetic limbs and robotic replacements made his movements less expressive than Anakin Skywalker's had been. Luke did not, however, stay with this slowed down form, as he began integrating his natural and force-enhanced athletic abilities into his fighting style. Luke had developed his skills by the time he boarded the second Death Star, and even though he was not trying to kill Vader, he faced his father as an equal. It was Vader's threat of corrupting Leia that released Luke's raw power and destructive ability as a duelist, so much so that even Emperor Palpatine was impressed. His training as a swordsman did not stop there. Luke continued to study and develop his fighting style, ultimately developing an entirely new and unique form of lightsaber combat. In Legends, this became a combination of mixed and varied techniques that included elements of Form 3, Form 4, and Form 5, as well as the inclusion of techniques he created himself. In canon, Luke tracked down every Jedi artifact, tome, and holocron he could find, and studied all aspects of the Jedi arts, including their lightsaber combat forms. He applied what he learned from these sources and became one of the most skilled swordsmen of all time. In spite of having no formal training himself, Luke was so skilled in the art of lightsaber combat that he trained the next generation of Jedi in both of these Star Wars universes. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Luke Skywalker lightsaber combat moment is. There are so many incredible ones in Legends, and we're getting new stories in canon all the time. Until the next video, enjoy the rest of your day, and may the Force be with you.